Hey everyone, good evening. It's Angel here with our next Live Well Wednesday. And I wanted to start off by reminding you guys that last week was our first Live Well Wednesday. And I want to do a huge shout out to Melissa Nelson for coming on with me, getting everybody excited about this journey I'm on and talking about grief. If you guys didn't have a chance to see that, go ahead and scroll back a little bit. I've been posting things in that actual event. It was a great talk. We literally talked for 45 minutes and it felt like, a minute. So great talk last week, Live Well Wednesday. And this week, thank you all for joining. We are going to talk about financial wellness. And here on the screen, you can see our guest of honor for our second event, Kevin Mack Jr., my better better half, right? Would you say?
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on and agreeing to talk about financial wellness. You have a whole bunch of, great information to share with everyone. A lot of things going on in the world, super important. And just so everybody knows, this is going to be a weekly Live Well Wednesday that I'm putting on. Lots of big things happening in my life. I have a lot of ideas and things that I'm going to be presenting to you guys in the upcoming weeks. So keep an eye out for things happening. Thank you all for joining, for supporting me, and we look forward to lots more of these Wednesdays coming up. So people are joining in now. Got a couple of people watching. Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start. So Kevin, go ahead and introduce yourself, tell our viewers a little bit about you and what have you been up to in your life?
All right, so I'm very happy to be here. Thank you again for the invite. And just to tell you a bit about myself, I have a very strong financial background. Say as far back as college, really even before that, I've always been into investing and saving. It was kind of just born into me through osmosis because my parents also were about that lifestyle. So I got my undergrad from Bowie State University in business administration. Got my master's from the University of Maryland in financial management, got into the financial sector as a mortgage banker. I've been licensed for 5 years now as a banker. And on top of that, I've now acquired 3 rental properties for myself and teach people across America how to do the same. I have a program called Young Pros in Real Estate, teaching young professionals how to own 3 houses by the age of 30 and helping people get the background to essentially learn the stock market and just be more savvy people and improve their overall lifestyle and economics. So it's a real big passion of mine. I love numbers. I love all that stuff. I'm happy to be here.
So tell everyone, before I don't let the cat out of the bag, all that you've done with your master's degree. And how old are you?
So I'll be 28 this month.
Yep, 28 on the 28th. So you've accomplished a lot in a very short time. I also want to kind of open it up for everyone as we're talking and just kind of being comfortable. I want these to be just comfortable conversations. If you have questions, please feel free to pop them on the bottom. There's one thing I know about Kevin. He loves helping people. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down here, message anytime. We'll have some contact information for him at the end. And please let's make this an interactive time. So thanks, Kevin, for the intro. To kind of get us started, let's talk about financial health overall. I mean, it's important, extremely important right now, but just overall, what kind of advice and things would you give to viewers just about financial health?
Okay, so there's so many sides and just aspects to financial health. I mean, there's never a wrong time to really start thinking about saving and investing. And I think one big insight I can give you is that a lot of people, even though saving is good, they stop too early. Saving is only a small portion of overall financial well-being, because if you just put your money in a bank account, it's really not working for you. You really need to put yourself in a place where your money actually makes you more money through the power of interest and compounding interest. So that's one thing that I really like to dive into and help people learn through my financial education program. So there's a lot of ways you can make your money work for you. My preferred way is real estate and stocks. And there's, of course, bonds and all these sophisticated instruments. But really just pick one thing, even if you just want to pick the most fundamental S&P 500, which is simply, without getting too technical, a diversified investment in itself. Write it down, Google it, just S&P 500. If you don't know anything else, nothing else to invest in, the one thing, S&P 500, will set you light years ahead of everyone else who only just leaves their money in a savings account.
Well, that's where you excuse me, you made me do. So that was my first, dabbling in any kind of, at my age, almost at 40, I was like, I've never done that. And S&P is where you told me to go ahead and start putting my money. So I hear you on that one. So what else would you say for people, let's talk about something like retirement and things like that are really important. What kind of advice do you have for people with that financial aspect?
All right, so another great topic. So retirement, you got to keep in mind that right now, or say my generation, retirement is not at all going to be the same as it was for people, say even maybe yourself or definitely the generation before you. We got to plan very differently because Social Security is running out. My generation won't have the same access to the pension plans and just these kind of safety nets and securities that were available to prior generations. So it's up to us. We're really on our own. So it's up to you to get smart about financial management, start saving today and learn how to make your money grow for you, because that's what you're going to have to live off of in your senior years. So if you're not saving now, what are you going to do when you hit age 60 or 70? You can keep working at McDonald's or Walmart if you want, but I imagine that's not ultimately what you want to do in your senior years. So literally the only way you can prevent that is by starting today, because my man Einstein said it himself, that the most powerful force in the universe is compounding interest. So interesting thing I really now appreciate about Einstein, as much as he was a scientist, he was really a financial man, a real money man, because in addition to that statement and concept, he also invented something called the rule of 72, which is a simple mathematical calculation that helps you determine how long it takes for an asset or an account to double in value. So very simply, all it is you take the number 72 and you divide into it your rate of growth. So say, for example, I use real estate because it's my main thing. Real estate on average appreciates 4% every year. Sometimes you're going to get more than 4%. Sometimes you're going to get less, but the average number is 4%. So basically, if you divide 72 by that 4%, the rate of growth, that comes out to 18. Now, the reason that number is important is because you now know that it takes 18 years for a house to double in value. So a $200,000 house after 18 years is now worth $400,000. So if you can essentially harness this concept, you begin to see how you can build your retirement plan. Your house can literally become your retirement plan. So that's why it's also important. I encourage young people to buy their house sooner rather than later. Because if you wait until you're, say, 40 or 50 to buy the house, where you don't get the benefit from those years of compounding interest, and you wait too long, you don't get to enjoy the benefit of having a house paid off free and clear. So really, the sooner you start, the better. Literally, the most powerful tool, especially in the financial world, is time.
Yeah, I have to say, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, just the difference in generations. I'm so proud of my son Tristan, because at the age of 24, he owns a house. And, he was right there, right around your age too, when he got his first property. So it definitely shows the difference in mentality. My generation, we didn't own houses until we were a lot older. Some of us never have owned houses. So I think that's very important, especially in this economy. And you'll talk about it with COVID hitting. Man, interest rates are lower than ever, and people are taking advantage of refinancing and just setting themselves up, because COVID has scared the crap out of everyone and making us take a really good look at ourselves. So I think that's really important financially, to kind of jump into that as well. One thing I've been kind of learning is that males and females look at things, especially with savings and financial health, a little different. And not too much as in generational, but I think males see the big picture and females see the small details. which is actually a good thing when you have a male and a female partnership or whomever together that brings those two knowledge bases. I think that's awesome to have that work. But have you seen any of that with males and females, or even generational differences when looking at houses and things? And maybe we can kind of start talking into, you know, the housing and savings with the generation and female male difference.
Yep, so that is a classic disparity. And I think is most commonly seen in the malls and the whole commerce space, because if you look at the way we shop, typically women shop at places like Forever 21, where you got tons of, say, cheap $10 items, and you'll just fill your cart up with 20 things. But then guys, we only need one thing, a big screen TV. Yet at the end of the day, we'll spend the same amount of money. So that's like you said, guys, we just want the one big thing, whereas women are more inclined to look at all the little things and care about the little, you know, minute details. So yeah, classic example.
So, you know, for those, most of you guys who are watching this know that Kevin and I are a couple, and obviously we're in two different generations. I'm in Gen X and he's a millennial. And from day one, we've really had very in-depth conversations about where he is and where his thought process is with investing, savings, taking chances, those type of things. I'll kind of tell you from my standpoint, I've never invested ever in my whole entire life up until we met. Actually, you're the one who told me, hey, what are you doing? Start investing. And I think it's because I've come from the generation who believes that I need to see my money, I need to touch it, I need to know it's in the bank and I can get to it at any time. And you've said this to me more than once, that scared money doesn't make money. And I am 100% scared money. To this day, I have to, you know, see a certain amount of money in my savings and see it in my account in case of anything that's going to happen. And I think a lot of people who are in Gen X, and even especially baby boomers who put a lot of money into the stock market when 2008 hit and they lost their money, it was just, you know, so devastating for them that a lot of people pulled the money out and said, no, I'm going to hold on to it. So as far as investing, we've had those conversations. And savings, I have money sitting in my savings account now. And you have pushed me to say, hey, why isn't that money somewhere else making money for you? And that's a huge thing for me to be able to say, here, you know, stock market, or here, you know, savings, but whatever, here, take my money, and fingers crossed things are going to work out. It really scares me. I know you have a whole different mentality on what to do with your money and how to watch it and make sure it's making more money for you. But in my generation, it's very difficult, and I like to hold on to things. I definitely want to hear your opinion on that and where your standpoint is coming from and things like that. And then I'd like to wrap it up before we jump into the next thing on, now that I've seen what you're about to tell everybody and how you've worked, where my mindset is starting to change. So I'll definitely open up to you to kind of tell everybody what your mindset is with investing and savings and, you know, even taking chances.
All right. So from what you said, one of the biggest words that stands out is fear. And no matter what your endeavor is, fear is always going to hold you back. So the same still applies in investing. A lot of people either don't start or even make mistakes out of fear, because fear can cause you to mess up on your timing of when you're supposed to get in or out of a stock, for instance. Fear can have you get out of a stock right after it drops, when really that's when you should be getting in and riding it back up, because what goes up must come down and vice versa. Generally, say something like the S&P 500 is always going to go up and down. So you can't let fear make you not realize that that's a normal move. So that's one thing. Fear can also cause you to not even take the leap of faith to want to learn, because you fear feeling ignorant or stupid because you just can't figure out what's happening with it, or you fear just making a mistake. Basically, you got to get past that and start thinking more positively. Think about what the possibility could be once you actually learn how to invest. What could it do for your lifestyle? What could it do for your bank account? When you think about the positives of just educating yourself in financial literacy, it doesn't even have to just be stocks. Learn how to buy a house effectively so that it becomes a cash flowing engine for you. You know, you got to just shift your mindset really from a fear-based scarcity mindset to more abundance. So that one shift alone is beyond just finance. That'll just change every aspect of your life, which is how I ultimately am driven to do and accomplish so much, because I don't fear challenges. I don't fear new experiences. I'm optimistic about what's going to come out of it. So it's really a manifestation. Like, change your mindset, you change your entire life. That's step one.
What about saving, just overall? What are your thoughts on that?
Yep, so saving, absolutely important. That's definitely step one, because saving leads to investing. So ideally set a target for yourself, 10% of your income every month. Put it into a separate account that you don't even see. Make this automatic so you don't have to remind yourself to save the money. So it's easy to do. Typically, if you have an employer, you can set that up automatically. Just log in, say every month I want 10% to go to this account that I never even look at, because out of sight, out of mind. You don't have to worry about spending money that you don't even know exists. So help yourself psychologically. All right, so that's step one, to actually start saving. Aside from that, once you have begun, I already mentioned at this point a few ways you can actually transform that saving account into an investment account. Between the two, you definitely want to have both accounts, but most of your money, I'll say 80% of your money is actually going to be in the investment account, and maybe 20%, maybe even less if you're savvy, is going to be in the actual savings or checking account. Because again, the reason for that is every dollar sitting in the savings is a dollar that's not growing. So yeah, just find your balance between both. As always, anybody can contact me directly for any case-by-case basis and advice.
We did have a couple questions, so you must have hit a nerve come through when you were talking. One question was about savings. How important is diversification?
Super important. So you may hear me say this thing a few times, but the S&P 500, that's another reason that it's one of the best investments you can make, because it is literally a diverse index in itself, self-contained. Because what it is, when you buy one share of the S&P 500, you're essentially buying one share or a portion of the top 500 companies in America. So that's why it's one of the strongest, to this day, one of the strongest growth vehicles, most steady growing vehicles for anybody. So that's why it's so easy to get into. So basically, diversification is one of the foundations of investing, because you can't put all your eggs in one basket, because nothing is for certain. No one company is just 100% impervious to failure or ruin, at least at a given point in time. You know, things bounce back all the time, but you basically want to diversify so that if you're at a point in time where one of your pillars is weak, you still got two other pillars to hold you up strongly. So diversify.
With that, we have a question about do you use like CDs, money market, or just high yields? What is your advice on that?
All right, so CDs, at this point in time, they're actually pretty useless. I think back in the day, they used to have more, I guess, strength compared to other investments, but nowadays a CD is maybe just like 2, if you're lucky, 3% growth, probably not even 3, but basically super low, to the point where I think it's not even worth it, especially given the more competitive options out there. So say, for instance, again, even real estate, like I said, grows 4% year over year on average, so that's already higher than a CD. And then with real estate, you also get the cash flow on top of the appreciation of property value. So it's like a double bonus with real estate. Money market, it's a really good one. There's just a whole vast sea of ETFs, exchange traded funds, which are basically all your stocks and indexes are grouped into that one category of ETFs. Index funds are probably the best category for just your average, person who just wants to make their money grow. And index funds, the cool thing about them, they differ from mutual funds. A lot of people know mutual funds because they're the classic, almost like a 401k. You put money in, or you give money to some guy, and he does the investing for you. And he does do that diversification and spreading it out amongst different companies. But the only challenge with your classic mutual fund is that the fees tend to be pretty high. And That's like the hidden killer in a lot of investments is the actual fee to get into that investment. So mutual funds, they may siphon off 1 or 2% of your investment. So you may, on the surface level, make 6% in a year, which sounds pretty nice. That's a solid mutual fund. But on the back end, the guy managing that, he takes 2% of that. So you're really only getting 4%. Whereas with a index fund, you can still get that 6%, maybe even 5%. But the fee for that can just be 0.5%, literally 0.5%. So overall, you really are making more money on that passively managed index fund. And that's the big difference. The index fund is passively managed, whereas a mutual fund is actively managed by a person.
So a follow-up to the diversification question, if someone is already taking that 10% and putting it into their the S&P and the 401, with the 401k and working that all together, how would you suggest to take additional funds for investment that could be used for real estate or things like that in the future? Where would you put that money to help it, help it grow?
Okay, so it can depend on the season and the opportunities that are in front of you, but sometimes you'll want to be out of real estate entirely and put all your money in stocks, and sometimes vice versa. So the way it worked out for me when the market initially crashed, just March this year, that was 100% stock opportunity. I put everything on the stocks because I was like, now is without a doubt stock time, and it paid off big for me. But then right after that,
and I was,
it did.
Yeah.
And then, as soon as I got the profit from that, I took a huge chunk out, probably half of it, and then put it all as a down payment on a house. So basically, that's where your, artistry comes in, is finding the right balance for you and finding the right timing for certain investments. That's why, again, diversification is important, because you can't be a one-trick pony in the world of finance, or else you'll just be limiting your potential. So it depends. You got to read the market, know what's going on, play it smart, and have fun with it.
Yeah, a lot of great questions. I'm they're almost a little bit over my head, so I'm trying to explain them a little bit. When the questions do come through, and if there's anything that we missed, we'll definitely follow up with some of that. One thing I wanted to talk about and kind of let people hear your story is the leap of faith that you have recently taken, and kind of explain that to people and what that's meant, for you, and even in COVID and, the crazy things that have been going on. I'd love you to share the story with the viewers on your leap of faith.
All right. So my leap of faith, and you mean basically when I left the traditional corporate America world and really went 100% commission and started to build my own brand in young pros in real estate and in mortgage banking. All right, so the cool thing about that is it didn't feel like a leap of faith to me. I think deep down, anyone who sets out on this entrepreneurial venture, they're not just like, oh, I hope this works out. I'm gonna leave this job, but I really, really hope it works out. They're like, no, I got this. I'm ready. I know my stuff. My product is good. So it's not a leap of faith. It's just more faith in yourself and belief in what you can accomplish, and just knowing that you're meant for more. That's how I felt, at least. There was never a doubt in my mind that I was ready and that I was gonna be okay making this leap. But I mean, that's how I think about it. So I understand what you mean. I think a lot of people want to do something like that, get out of corporate America. And there's some, again, fear behind that. But step one is get rid of your fear, believe in yourself, and let's not be too delusional at times and just think that everyone wants to buy whatever we make because everything we touch is gold. You still have to test your product beforehand. But before I actually left corporate America, I did have some proof of concept. I already had the investments, already had the knowledge, I already had built up my e-course. So by the time I actually left, I was really just walking into my office. I didn't have to build from scratch. Never leave corporate America and then decide to start building something from scratch. That's not the way to do it.
So with that, go ahead and tell the viewers, because I definitely want to give you a few moments to let them know what you're working on with your mortgage piece and young pros in real estate. So if you can go ahead and let everybody know what you're doing, how they can reach you, and basically all the help that you're offering right now.
All right, so I'm essentially becoming a one-stop shop for all your real estate needs. So one, I have my own network of partner real estate agents who can help you do step one of searching and finding the house. But me, myself, I'm a licensed mortgage banker who can get you the financing and advise you on the best loan terms to actually get approved for a house, essentially. On top of that, I take it a step further and teach you how to scale beyond just becoming a homeowner for yourself, but how to become a home investor and acquire 1, 2, 3, 4 properties and even beyond. I can even show you how to flip houses. So basically, I became a true student of the industry and soaked up everything that there was to learn about the real estate field and just grew my knowledge and my network. So essentially, by working with me, you get access to all that. So I'm just here to help other people grow. It's a passion.
So I know one of the big things you're doing now with the real estate side is helping veterans. Can you kind of just give a little insight on the things that you're offering the veterans out there? Because I know my network is full of veterans and active duty military people, and I think this would be a great opportunity for them.
Yes, I'm actually glad you mentioned that. So one cool thing that really does support my brand, and it's just amazing how stars align. I'm actually sponsored by the Federal Savings Bank, which is the largest veteran-owned and federally chartered bank in the country. So that's basically how I write home loans and get people approved. They are the sponsor who backs the loans, essentially. So we definitely have special bonuses and incentives for veterans, whether you're active duty or retired military. So definitely hit me up for that.
And then one last thing, young pros in real estate, I really would like you to kind of tell everybody about that journey, like how it came to fruition and where you are and how everybody, I know you kind of said, I have put the link before, but I think it's kind of an awesome story to just kind of relive it and let the people know how you started with young pros. And you're frozen? No. Ah. Well, we lost Kevin, which is really sad. And I don't know what happened. But I think we pretty much hit everything. Hopefully I'm still live and you guys can see what's going on here. And I'm going to go ahead and end it for this week. Any other information, please reach out to me. I can get you in touch with Kevin, youngprosinrealestate.com. We'll have him back on and talk a little bit more. And thank you guys so much. Next week, I'll have my next Live Well Wednesday, and tune in.